Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Everybody in New Jersey, well, everybody in the area is worried about the health of the ocean, and somebody who deals with that all the time is Jon Weber, who is with the Surfrider Foundation, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Manager of Surfriders. First, what is Surfriders?
Surfrider Foundation is, briefly, it's a coastal environmental group, but we're dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of the world's oceans, waves, and beaches. You don't have to be a surfer. Anybody that loves a good day at the beach should be a member of Surfrider and support the things we do.
But there are surfers. Is that how it started off?
There's a bunch of surfers, sure.
but that makes some sense. That makes some sense that you have surfers who care about the quality of the water and probably care as much, if not more, than most people would care because they're in it.
Exactly. Surfers, they care deeply, so they make great activists, and they do care about water quality and beach access and preserving our coast and special places in our ocean. So that's our core focus areas.
And the neat thing about it is that you have these Surfriders, and you came up with Surfrider, and you've become an advocacy for the ocean. And so you're an advocacy group for clean water and for protecting the environment and protecting the ocean. What are some of the issues that you're dealing with right now? I would imagine this offshore drilling is in the top of your list.
Sure. The entire East Coast was protected by a moratorium on offshore oil drilling and exploration for like 20 years. But around a few years ago, they lifted the moratorium to allow offshore oil drilling and exploration to go forward. And it's a very slow process, so even though the moratorium was lifted years ago, right now we're sort of at the point where we could be looking at drilling off of Virginia and the southeast within a matter of a couple of years.
Right, it's all south of Jersey at this point, but they're doing this sonic testing. Are you against that as well? It's just sending sonic waves down to find out if there's oil down there, right, or natural gas?
It's called seismic. We call it seismic air gun blasting, and it is using sound waves to detect if there's oil, but literally a mile or two below the ocean floor. So it's got to be pretty loud sounds to penetrate that deep into the bedrock, and it's loud. It harms marine mammals, and we are against it. We don't think you go doing that unless you really want to find oil and gas, so that's why we're against it.
So if they find the oil and gas, your assumption is that there's going to be a big push by oil lobbyists to go down and get that oil and gas.
Absolutely, and so we're against both, and the big question is why? Why right now? I mean, if you look at, I just went to a bunch of hearings on this offshore oil drilling. Gas in New Jersey was below $2 a gallon at the time. I mean, if you adjust it for inflation, it's literally cheaper than it's ever been. It's cheaper than it was in the 1980s, you know, and we have more production in this country than we've ever had, and it's so cheap right now. And we're just on the cusp of getting these new technologies going, renewables, wind and solar, really coming into their own. So the question is, why now? Why take a step back and go look for more oil and gas?
Well, I would push back and just say we're talking about years down the line. I understand right now the supplies are plentiful, but the argument from the industry would be, yeah, we're not just talking about now, we're talking about years from now. So we need to know at least where the supplies are, just in case we want to go get them. Is that a valid argument?
Well, we don't think so, because if you put all effort into oil and gas now, imagine if we put that effort into, again, these renewables like solar and wind. Surfrider's actually really involved in the process of regional ocean planning, which is sort of figuring out where we can and should do things in the ocean. And that's being driven by offshore wind. People say they want offshore wind, but they want to do all these other things in the ocean. Fish and do commercial fishing and whale watching and recreation. And where are we going to put these wind farms? Well, we got to do some planning in the ocean to figure that one out. So that just complicates it if we're also going to do oil and gas drilling. So it's getting busy out there.
I've heard the arguments from the oil industry when they've talked about this, and there's been some pushback. There has been some pushback, and maybe by the Surfrider Association down in Virginia and in Georgia and down into Florida. And the worry is for a spill like they had in the Gulf. And they say now you wouldn't even know, our technology is such that it's completely safe and you won't even know the dredges are there. You won't even see them from the shore. Does that make it a little bit safer for you?
Well, no, the words don't make it any safer. Of course, that's what they said before the Deepwater Horizon. And the reality is the Obama administration was set to embark on this 5-year drilling and lease plan just before the Deepwater Horizon happened. So they put it on hold. But the question is, well, what's happened between now and then? Well, not really much. They put a few different regulations on a piece of paper maybe, but we're not confident that that's going to be any different if there's a blowout or disaster in the East Coast. It could happen here. They always say it can't happen, but it always does happen. So again, we're on the cusp of really, getting these renewables, wind and solar, down to a really cheap price. If we put time and effort into that, it's way better than pulling this stuff out of the ground.
Something else you're concerned about is liquid natural gas drilling, and I don't think most people even know about this. It's not on their radar.
Sure, liquid natural gas, it's a process of you take natural gas, but you supercool it, you liquefy it so you can put it on super tankers and ship it around the world. So there's a plan to build a port off it's closer to New York, but in the New York, New Jersey area, to build a thing called Port Ambrose, which would be a place where these super tankers filled with liquid natural gas could come in and put it into pipelines that would serve this area. The problem is that the economics of that are just completely upside down. I mean, gas production is at an all-time high through all the production in this country. Why would we need to bring in foreign fossil fuels into this country? It doesn't really make sense. Why would we want to import natural gas? We have an abundance of it right now. So based on that, and why industrialize the ocean, dig up the ocean floor for this pipeline and everything? So Surfrider Foundation and lots of coastal environmental groups are against the Port Ambrose liquid natural gas facility.
You're not against the importing and exporting of oil and natural gas. You're just against building new facilities for it.
Well, we don't want this new facility, of course. I mean, we should have clean energy wherever we can have it. I mean, we can't stop or turn back the clock on drilling that's already happening or wells that are already here. But again, any oil drilling on the Atlantic would be new drilling, and we don't think that should happen. And this would be a new liquid natural gas port, and we don't think we need that.
Well, good luck in your fight. How
Appreciate
can
it.
people find out more about your organization?
Oh, surfrider.org, and there are local chapters in every coastal state here, jerseyshore.surfrider.org, delaware.surfrider.org, southjersey.surfrider.org.
And they can join in your fight just by writing letters, right?
They can join, and they can join the organization. Go to surfrider.org and click join.
Great, perfect. Jon
Appreciate
Weber,
it.
thank you so much. I hope you come back. I really appreciated you being here and talking with you. Cool. From the Surfrider Foundation, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Manager. Jersey Matters continues right after this.